So please you all be on the alert and be aware, and of course follow all COVID protocols. Thank you very much. Okay, so this afternoon we're supposed to do construction of the box. If you go into the modular unit, you'll see we're supposed to start construction of the box. But I made a little change. Reasons, I want you all to understand what is fertilizers first, right? Because you'll have to be using fertilizers. And if I go into the construction of the box, that not understanding fertilizers and what I'm doing, I think it may confuse you all a little. So I'll go into the module 2, day 2 work instead of day 1. Okay. So we are going into fertilizers this afternoon. But before we go into fertilizers, let me recap on what we have done last day. So we have spoken about chemicals and chemical safety and so on. And of course, you know, like I said, I always ask farmers or participants to always adhere to all safety rules when coming to chemicals and safety. Is very, very, very important. So let's recap what we have done last day. So you all remember what we did? So anybody want to trigger off? Hello? Okay, so you all want to ask a question?
We talk about on weedicides.
Right.
And the different types of weedicides like pre-emergence, post-emergence,
Right.
systematic, etc.
Right. So what is a post-emergence?
That's what we decided to use before you start growing.
Really?
Is it pre or post? Post?
Post.
Oh, well, after growing. Once it's growing, you put that, use that weedicide.
Excellent. And pre-emergent, of course, we're talking about before you grow. So pre-emergent is going to be before you grow, right? Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what is it actually going to destroy? That weed killer, what is it actually going to destroy once you apply before it grows?
The seeds.
Right. So like we said, that is going to get the seed sterile. So it is said that that chemical will be ovicidal, and meaning that it will sterile seeds so it cannot germinate. Okay. Beautiful. And then of course we talk about systemic weedicide, contact weedicide, and in general we talk about insecticide and weedicide. We're talking about contact and systemic. But let's say something about contact weedicide. What is it going to do? What a contact weedicide will do?
Control for the plant.
Sorry?
The plant, like.
Repeat. I didn't hear it clearly. No,
Are you hearing me?
No, a little break in transmission. Repeat. Hello.
It controls the foliage of the plant, which are the leaves of the plant.
Excellent. So once this contact is going to control the foliage. Once you have a systemic, it's going to control both foliage and roots of the plant. So you realize that which one is better to use, right? And of course, not which one is better to use, more so what you want to control. And it is important. You see, I did not mention this last day, but when we have things like crops and so on, you are cultivating crops, right? And once your crops are in a state of reproduction and so on, it's not advisable to use systemic weedicides in your fields, right? Because the weedicide may tend to have a little effect on the plants, so it'll retard with respect to reproduction and so on. So this is why it's important to know the state of your plant and so on, right? So we, excuse. So when you are doing, or when you are applying your pesticides, especially weedicides, it's important to know the crops you have and if the crops are ready to reproduce and so on, right? So you should avoid using systemic type weedicide, especially when you have crops. It is recommended in certain crops, of course, on the label will show when you can spray and so on. Also, I just want you all to take note of this part as we are on systemic weedicide. It is very, very important, very important. Once your crops, let's say we have a day of rainfall today, right? You have day of rainfall today. Tomorrow is the best time to apply your systemic weedicide. What happens? Because of there's moisture, in the soil, and your plants will of course will carry much more moisture also, which is the weeds will carry more moisture. That is when our systemic weedicide works most effective. So you're going to get optimum effect of your weedicide at that time. So please take note of that. Very, very, very important. Just as when you're doing a systemic insecticide, it is advisable. You should irrigate your plants first, right? And of course, then you add your systemic weedicide and so insecticide. So very, very important, right? That's some note you need to take on with respect to that. Okay. All right. So after that, what we went to, we spoke about. I just want to go through fast. We spoke about the different labels of chemicals, right? And we said we have what are the colors again? I can't remember the colors. Anybody
Yellow, green, red,
and what?
Blue.
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 Right. Beautiful. So which is the least toxic?
Green.
Beautiful. And the highest is?
Red.
Red.
Excellent. Excellent. So I saw that you all read over your notes, and of course you all were listening well last day. Okay. So I want to show you all some chemicals, right? I already spoke about green label. Look at this is a systemic weedicide bactericide, right? And when we say green label, I want to point out this. This is just part of the base here. You all see this is green, right? So once that you are seeing that is what is considered to be a green label or a green band chemical, right? So more so, it's a green label chemical. Okay, you all see that?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Excellent. Right. Another. Again, we are FASTAC, right? A lot of people think FASTAC is really, really toxic and so on, but look, it's a green label, so yet it is safe to use. Then you have another one, BioLife. BioLife is a chemical, and this is what you call after a plant go through stress. This is an important biostimulant you can use, right? And this, when it's applied, if your plant gets too much of sunlight, the stress level will drop. If you get too much of rainfall, the stress level will drop. Even especially in cases where you have flooding and so on, and your crops are flooded, this BioLife works excellent. Okay, so I said it's a green label. All right. Someone asked last time about if you can use the breeze water or the detergent water and spray, and I spoke about the spreader sticker and so on. Right. So this is an excellent product. This is what we call NuFilm. NuFilm is a spreader sticker, and again you see the green in it. So it's a green band. It's a green label chemical, and this is what we call a spreader sticker. We have another one, another spreader sticker, Breakthrough. This is the one on the market. Very, very, very excellent. And when I say excellent, this is one. Another name for it is called an adjuvant, right? It's an adjuvant. An adjuvant meaning that it pulls the chemical onto the foliage of the plants and allow penetration, right? Allows penetration. So as we're going along, I'll give you all the different modes of action of chemicals and so on, right? So as we're going along, we will be talking about that, the modes of action of chemicals and so on. So when you are into the market, when you want to purchase chemicals, it's very, very important to know.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
That last one you put up after NuFilm, what was that one?
This one. This one. Breakthrough.
Breakthrough. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Breakthrough. Right. See it?
Yes.
Beautiful. So Breakthrough, again, that's an adjuvant or spreader sticker. It's really excellent. It is mostly used, especially in the rainy season, or if you have to spray early in mornings when you have dew, on your plants, it is recommended to use a spreader sticker or an adjuvant. Now, I'll tell you something. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come into diseases and so on, you'll see what's the best time to spray your plants. What is the best time? A lot of people think early in the morning is the best. Some people say late on evenings, right? But as a farmer, once you understand the science of crop or crop science, right? Then you will know what chemical you have to use, whether in the morning or in evening. And if you're controlling a fungus or a bacteria, repeat, if you are controlling a fungus or a bacteria, it is advisable you should spray early on mornings. Let me don't confuse it too much with that. But later on when we do diseases, I'll explain that. Bear in mind, I will explain that. But when you are spraying a fungus or a bacteria, advisable you should use that spray early on morning. If you are spraying to control insects, then it's wise to spray on evening, right? But bear in mind, as a farmer, if I have to spray, I always use the morning because morning is the best time to spray your chemicals, right? And we'll talk about later on the dangers and all those things, right? So let's don't overload our circuit with respect to information with that, right? Are we okay there so far?
Yes.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Right. Any questions so far?
Nah, cool.
Right, beautiful. Okay. Right. So we clear on chemicals and the type of chemicals, the red label, green label, yellow label, and so on. Right. But right now, presently, the Ministry of Agriculture, and it's just information, by the way, FYI, the Ministry of Agriculture allowing subsidies or incentives for green label and blue label chemicals. Those are the two that they are allowing subsidies or incentive for that. So if you are once more, if you are a registered farmer, and I'm still registered, once you have that farmer's ID, which is the green card, so you have a green and a yellow. Once you have the green card, you will be able, or you are able to apply for incentives via the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries. Okay. Good. So this afternoon, we are going into fertilizers. This session is a very, very interactive session. I want you all, to communicate with me, and I would like to know how, when you're going to purchase fertilizers and so on, what do you look for, and why do you look for that? And a lot of people just hear what farmers or householders using, and they say, okay, boy, that sounds good, so I'll use that, but they are not getting correct results from it. And understanding fertilizers, understanding nutrients on the whole, you have to take that into consideration. I must know what I'm going to use. So it is important to understand what plants want. Plants will survive once you have air, water, sunlight, a balanced pH medium, or a balanced soil, or a growing medium. And of course, not forgetting, once you have good nutrients for your plants. Those are the things that plants actually need in order for good production. You want a healthy growing plant, you want a lovely looking plant, you want a luscious green plant, you want a plant that gives high yield, that reproduces high. Those are the things you have to take into consideration what plant needs for that to happen. So you have to be, in order to be successful in growing your plants, you have to understand what sort of condition my plant are growing under. Once I'm getting enough water, sufficient air, the pH is well balanced, and of course, sunlight and a well balanced nutrition, our plants are going to give optimum yield. So you as a farmer are going to be, your rewards are higher. Once you have a higher yield, that means I'm going to gain, my profit's supposed to be higher. So that means once I'm doing that, at the end of the day, I should be successful in growing my plants. So you understand now that plants need those things. So let me hear. One of the things that I take into consideration, we said fertilizers. So what do you all understand by fertilizers?
That's providing the plants with nutrients that it wouldn't normally get from the soil.
Beautiful. All right. Okay. Anybody else want to contribute?
To keep away diseases.
All right. Why would you say fertilizer to keep away diseases?
Just guessing.
All right. Lovely. But of course, you're quite correct, you know. Your guess is very good, because once you have a plant, a healthy growing plant, it is going to be resistant to most pests and diseases. So your answer was not wrong at all. Sir. Very good answer. Anybody else?
If your soil is depleted,
Sorry, if your soil.
is depleted in nutrients, then you may need to add fertilizers.
Good. Excellent. So this is the whole thing. So you understand now, once the soil have, you said it depleted in the nutrients, we have to provide our plants with nutrients. And there are two types of fertilizers. We have what they call organic fertilizers, and we have inorganic fertilizers. Okay. Inorganic fertilizers are the synthetic type that you normally purchase in agro shops and so on. It comes in salts form, right? And fertilizers come in salts and granules and so on, right? So that is what they call inorganic fertilizers. Then you have organic fertilizers, which are simple manure, right? Manure, and of course manure can be cow manure, green manure, pen manure. All those things are referred to as organic type fertilizers, right? Today we are really going to deal with what plant needs, and we are going to deal highly with inorganic fertilizers. So you're going to buy fertilizers in the agro shop. What would you look for when you're going to purchase fertilizers?
Well, I would look for like 20 that has like the nitrogen, the NPK, the nitrogen, the phosphorus, the potassium. So it will give the plants basically nearly everything one time.
Basically everything. I like that. Gil, you see that thought? I want you to keep that thought for later on as we go down with fertilizers, right? So I would like to hear your thoughts after when we finish with our session this afternoon. Okay?
Okay.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So you see, my lady said you look for 20-20-20 because it's a complete fertilizer. It has all the nutrients that your plant will need, right? Okay. Somebody else, tell me, what would you look for in a fertilizer?
Would you have to identify?
Sorry?
Would you have to identify what your plant needs at the time?
Right. Excellent. So we are in a good part here now. You have to understand what stage your plant is in, what nutrient I suppose to give to my plant, and with respect to that, once you have the knowledge of understanding that, I'll go to buy my fertilizer. But like my lady said earlier, she's 20-20-20. It means it have nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which is the NPK. Now, ladies and gentlemen, NPK comes in that order all the time. It is standard. It does not change. So you are seeing 3 numbers on that package. Most likely you will see 3 numbers. Sometimes I see 2 numbers with a little 0 or 1 number and 2 0 as you're going along. But do you all know what that means?
That is a number which represents the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium in the fertilizer.
Good. But in reality, you know what the 20 stands for? Do you know what the 20 stands for? All right, one of the 20. Let's say 20N. What that stands for?
Nitrogen. I want to speak. I don't know.
Content.
Here somebody said a percentage.
Percentage, yeah.
Beautiful. Excellent. So I'll look at the correct part. It means that that fertilizer that you got carries 20% of nitrogen. My lady said 20-20-20. That means it carries 20% of phosphorus. And the other 20 is 20% of potassium. But percentage based on 100, right? Am I correct? percentage is based on 100. So
Yeah.
that but when you add it, how much you get in? If you add it 320,
Yes.
how much you get?
60.
Right. Where's your other 40%?
Any soil? I don't know.
I like that one.
Dirt.
Any dirt?
No, it's
All right.
dirt to
It's
make
di-
bulk.
Beautiful. That excellent, my lady. Wonderful answer. Wonderful answer. So that's what you call the carrier or the buffer, right? Or a filler. Exactly that's what it means. It's a carrier, a buffer, or a filler, right? So most of the time you hear the term filler, meaning, so my fertilizer carries 20% nitrogen, 20 phosphorus, and 20 potassium. That means I'm carrying only 60% of fertilizer. So when I purchase 100 pounds of fertilizer, I'm getting 60% only in nutrients. And I'm getting the other 40% in a carrier, a filler, or a buffer, right? And I want to use a nice one. I know a lot of love this fertilizer. The blue salt, right? Don't know the blue salt? The magic salt?
Nutrex.
No,
Yes.
the next magic
Blue
salt.
Blue corn.
Blue corn. Right.
Uh-huh.
Right. That's the magic one. Blue corn. That's how they call it. That's how they call it. That's how you name it.
Yeah.
Right. So actually not blue corn, it's block corn. Right? BLAUKORN, right?
Yeah, we know this.
Right. Meaning that and the block corn is not blue corn alone. It's a brand name. Just as you have Peters, you have Nitrofosca, or you have National Agro, or even carbon chemicals, all those things, they have fertilizers. Really, it's a brand name of fertilizers, right? But the color really is the color is really coding the type of the formula of the fertilizer. Let me don't confuse too much. We'll get to that shortly. So you understand now. So I go to buy the block on, right? And I'm seeing 12, 12, 17 plus 2. Tell me, when would you add that to your plant? When would you apply that to your plant?
You're going to apply that to your plant first staging after veg into flower. I say first stage, yeah, first sign into flower. Although you could feed it earlier on because it go obviously swell the stem and them kind of thing, because it is a blower.
Beautiful, sir. And I love your thoughts, and I love your thoughts, and I want you to hold your thoughts. So then when you understand fertilizers, you'll see there's a big difference. Okay? So we understand now NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. But on the whole, you'll see if you go further on. Let me just get one thing to show you all. Hold on, 1 minute. No, right. Okay. Okay, so I'm back with you all. Right. All right. So have you all noticed now?
Just try something. Just leave it and it will come back.
Right. You all seen this number there? Huh? You all good so far?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we see.
You seen 12, 12, 7. No, sorry. Yeah, 12, 12, 17 plus 2 plus TE, sorry, and yeah, plus TE, 2 plus TE, right? And you seen plus S and all those things, right? But you see the block on, right? The brand name is block on. Okay? What that means? What that means? It carries 12% of nitrogen, 12% of phosphorus, 12% of potassium.
Somebody has their mic on.
Yes, someone.
Yeah, somebody TV on or something.
Yeah.
Check this and make sure right now. I don't. My mic, nothing.
Somebody needs to mute their mic.
Yeah. Somebody. Right. I think we clear it. We get it now?
Seems so.
Right, beautiful.
Yeah.
Right, beautiful. So we have 12, 12, 17 plus 2 plus TE, right? and yeah, plus T, and you'll see S and so on. Now, you have to understand now what that means. I'm repeating, 12% nitrogen, 12% phosphorus, 70% potassium, and you've seen S, and you've seen a +2, and you've seen plus Te. What that simply means, it carries nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. It has also S is for sulfur. It has +2, which is magnesium, and it has Te, which is called trace elements, right? Now, some fertilizers you'll see the same numbers, but instead of Te, you might see Mn, you might see Me, or you may see Tn, right? All that means it carries just trace elements. So Mn will be micronutrients, Te is trace elements. What's the other one? I call another one Ms. So meaning that it carries micronutrients for your plants also. So I'm going now. I'm saying that for a reason. There's what you call macronutrients, and there's what you call micronutrients, right? So we have macronutrients, we have micronutrients. What that means? Anybody can tell me what macronutrients mean?
The major one, the plants need.
Sorry?
The major nutrients they go.
Excellent. So we say macro, or the major nutrients, or what nutrients the plant needs the most. So that now is further broken down into the macronutrients comes into primary nutrients and secondary nutrients, right? And then the micronutrients, will come as trace elements and so on. So you now have to understand what I'm going to give my plants and how I go about doing it, right? So you have to understand fertilizers. You have to understand fertilizers and say, okay, so we have macronutrients, which is NPK. I show you all S just now, right? So that is, and it have +2, that means magnesium, carries trace element. You see that sulfur, the calcium, magnesium, and so on, all that are referred to as secondary nutrients. Primary nutrients, NPK is the primary nutrients, right? So I'm repeating, we have macronutrients, and we have micronutrients. But in the macronutrients, we have what you call the primary nutrients and the secondary nutrients. So the primary nutrient, meaning it's the first 3 nutrients that plant needs the most, which is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Are we clear on that?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. The secondary nutrients are things like calcium, magnesium, sulfur, and so on, right? That comes now in what you call the secondary nutrient. That means that is needed afterwards the plant gets the macronutrients, which is the primary nutrients. The trace elements or the micronutrients are what plant needs in minute amount, in small amount. And most of the times, once you apply in things like McGill said, she applied she loves the 20/20, carries everything. But if you notice in the bag, in the package, will have other micronutrients present in it. Your soil carries a lot of micronutrients, right? And when you add manure and so on, it carries a lot of micronutrients and so on. So even we have micronutrients available in the soil, where it's called trace elements, or we call MNZ, and all those things that we call micronutrients. But today we are not going to deal with the micronutrients so much, because that is normally coming naturally by the soil, the medium, or even out of the manure and so on. But remember, it's grow box we are doing, right? It's grow box. So once we are using grow box and we are using organic material, your micronutrients supposed to come in there. If not, we can supplement it, where we can buy a little nutrient express and so on, and we can add it into our fertilizers, into our medium, and our plant will get access to micronutrients. So we need to deal more so with the macronutrients, and I'm going to deal more so with the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Are we good there so far?
Yes, sir.
Beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Now, do you all know what the nitrogen is for? Anybody? What nitrogen is for?
Nitrogen does help your plants get tall, like in a fast period of time.
Right. So more so, nitrogen is for the vegetative parts of the plant, or the leaves and the stems of the plant, which is the green part of the plant. It encourages, it allows chlorophyll to develop very, very fast, right? So that's why nitrogen is for leaves, right? Or the vegetative parts of the plant. Now, I just want to get a little feedback from you all, right? I'm going to unplug my microphone. I'm going on the board. There's a board at the back of me. I want to write on it and tell me if you all are let me get a response if you all are seeing and hearing me properly, okay? So I'm going to unplug.
Okay.
Right, beautiful. So you all hear me so far?
We actually hear you better.
Right now, I'm about to say that.
Ready, Mark? You all hear me better?
Yes.
Right. See me better too? Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
NPK.
Beautiful. Well, oh, your eyesight good. Right. So I'm going to teach you all a lovely, lovely, nice thing, right? Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Okay? So I'm going to write it down. So we have nitrogen. N is for nitrogen. Okay? We have P. What P is for?
Phosphorus.
Phosphorus. Excellent. I'm going to write like that. Phosphorus. Okay? And what we have the K for?
Potassium.
Beautiful. Potassium. So we have nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Once you understand fertilizers, you realize now, we said nitrogen is for what? The leaves, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you call that, it's for leaves. Okay? What the phosphorus is for? Do you all know what the phosphorus is for?
The roots.
Oh gosh, you're right. Right, excellent.
Hey.
Nice, man. Roots. And what the potassium is for?
What are them?
Eh?
Swelling of plants.
Swelling of plants? All right. More so, it's for reproduction.
The production, right?
Production, I just abbreviated it, or flowering, right? Are you hearing me again?
Yeah.
Right. So we have nitrogen for the leaves, the phosphorus for the roots, and the potassium is for the reproduction, right? So now you have to understand the state. This by itself is a guide to go about using your fertilizers. You have to understand now why you should be using these fertilizers. So now I'm erasing, right? So I'm going to erase. Now we spoke about percentage, right? But let me use some nice one. So we have N, we have P, we have K. You see that?
Yes.
Right. So I'm going to use this nice one. 12, 24, 12. Right? You get that? 12, 24, 12. Meaning, if we add this now, we only get 48%, right? 48%, that means is nutrients. The other 52% is just a carrier or filler. Now, when you buy fertilizers, you will see some fertilizers come in one color, so the block one is coming blue, right? Then you see a nice one, it comes in beautiful different colors. See this one? It comes in different colors, right? Right. You all observe that?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So now you have to understand now. We'll come into that why it's different colors and so on, right? So we have 12, 24, 12. Because of this is for the roots, right? You notice now, look at the observation here. Observe carefully. 12, and we have 12 and 12, sorry, 24, 12 and 12 on either side. The middle one is the highest, and the other two are lower and equal. Are you all getting that?
Yes.
Beautiful.
That means once you're seeing that happening, and the phosphorus is high, and the other two are lower and equal, this is referred to as a starter. Beautiful. It's a starter. You all get that? Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a starter.
Yes.
So now we have to add this to our plants. What 3 days after transplanting? Within once you transplant, within the first 2 weeks of a plant life, it needs phosphorus. Phosphorus is for root development. So you need to apply your starter fertilizer. What do we want to do afterwards with our plant? After it started, because need to have a nice foundation, roots, nice large roots, so you'll have higher absorption. Once you have higher absorption, you're going to get a plant taking up plenty of more nutrients. Am I correct? Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. So now, what do we want to do after? After we get the roots, what do we want to do with plants now?
Leaves.
Excellent, my lady. Excellent, excellent. So we use a fertilizer like this now. 20, 10, 10. What's the highest of the tree there?
Nitrogen, please.
Excellent. A lot bright, a lot bright. We have 20, 10, 10. Again, this is the highest of the tree. These other two are lower and equal. So we want to specialize to give our plant nitrogen. Yes, now, because we have this high nitrogen and the other two are lower and equal, this is referred to as a grower. Look at that. It's a grower. Are you okay so far?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. After we get the roots, we get a nice tall plant, green, luscious leaves, right? What do we want afterwards?
Fruit to grow, to produce.
Yeah. So we use the nice one called 12, 12, 17. Forget the other two things, the plus 2 and thing, right? We are dealing with that yet. We deal with NPK. I want you to understand the NPK. So we deal with this. This is what I call the macronutrients, and it is called the primary nutrients. I want to deal with this by the understand fertilizers. What happens here now? 12, 12, 17. And again, this one is the highest of the tree. The other two are lower and equal. Look at that.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Beautiful. So we call that now a finisher. Right? It is called a finisher. So we end up with what you call fall feed, right? I like that one. We end up with our fall feed, right? Starter, grower, and finisher.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
sir. It's true.
Beautiful. Look at that. So we have a fall feed system here. And that is the whole idea of a plant. You want to start the plant, you want to grow your plant, and then you want it to reproduce. And this is what we will end up with. So how it works now? Very simple, how it works. I'm going to demonstrate now in my hand here how it works, right? Now, you all seen this order, right? NPK, right? All seen that there as it is?
Yes.
Good. So the green is for leaves, the red is for roots, and the black is for reproduction, right? For fruits. We get that?
Yeah.
Good. Right. So now, what happens? We want to add 12, 24, 12. So we do this. Notice now, what happens here now? This is the highest. The other two are lower and equal. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
And how it works now is this. Because it is a higher concentration, these other two will hold on. This one will be absorbed, and then this one will come afterwards. Get me so far?
Yeah, understand.
Beautiful. Now that we want to grow it now. So here now, look at this. We have the grower now is the highest. Right. The other two are lower and equal. You heard me so far?
Yeah.
This now suppresses these two. Because of this high-end concentration, this suppresses two and say, hey boys, you hold on there. Let me go up first. When I go up first, then these other two will come afterwards. Right? And this is how your plants are going to get your growing ability or produce chlorophyll really, really fast, and the plant get green and nice. Once it gets green and nice now, you want your plant to what?
Produce.
Beautiful. So this what happens now. Right? This happens now. This is the highest of the string. These two are low and equal. This one, boys, you hold on there. I'm going to go up. That my plant, let the plant begins to flower and reproduce and so on, and you are going to get, like my boy said, it fattens the plant, but more so, it allows the plant to manufacture more sugars, so it can store it in the roots or it can store it in the fruit. That's the storage organ of plants. The roots or the fruits are the storage organ of the plant. And once you have the once you have plants that have to reproduce, then the storage organs begins the sorry, repeat. I talk a little too fast, right? So we have the plant. Once it wants to reproduce, once it have fruits, right? The storage organ is going to be the fruit. If you have, like, for example, a lettuce, the lettuce will have leaves and so on, but it wouldn't produce any fruits. So the storage organ for that is the roots. So you will have, and you'll manufacture sugars, and your plant, your lettuce are going to get really, really, really wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can say, well, you know, well, in school I have been taught that lettuce is a leafy crop and it needs nitrogen. Are you learning that already?
Yes.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a little different concept. Once you cultivate a plant, whether it is a lettuce, a leafy crop, whether it is a solanaceous crop, later we'll come to plant types and so on. And if it's a root crop, right? It needs this in order. Night starter, phosphorus, wants to grow it, nitrogen, it wants to reproduce it, and the finisher. That's the fertilizing structure that you go with. That's the fertilizing method that you go with. A starter, a grower, and a finisher. You develop your own system. All you need to change, in this now, is the type of crops that you are growing and how you add your fertilizers to suit. That's all you need to do. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. Yeah.
I just want to go backwards a little bit, right?
Sure.
So in other words, like how McGill say 20, like there's a balanced meal. You will start off with that and to say.
If you will start off with that?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to teach you all a lovely, lovely technique. A lovely, lovely technique to understand fertilizers. I already paint this picture for you of a starter, grower, and a finisher, right? So McGill was using the 20. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But you have to understand now, I'm saying, you understand the concept of fertilizer, nutrients, how it goes. The major one should be uptake first. You witness of that? So that goes back now to teach you all a nice little science of crops when you're going. We have what you call granule fertilizers. Granules. And the one that the lady said with the nutrients is salts, right? It comes in crystal form. All right? Everybody understand that?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Granules, most of the times, or not most of the times, well, actually, granules supposed to be applied direct into the growing medium, which can be the soil or medium, which is the grow box medium, right? So this granules is add to the base of the plant or to the drip edge of the plant in order for the plants to get access to. You with me so far? This one, the salts, are referred to as soft fertilizers, or we call foliar fertilizers. These are added to the leaves of the plant most of the times. That is what it's supposed to do. Now, it sounds a little confusing, right? You know, here the farmers is mixing up this granule, the block on in a barrel of water, 8 pounds in a barrel of water, and there's water the plants with it. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. It's your method of application and how you go about applying fertilizers to your plants is the important thing, right? But then you have to take into consideration weather condition, the type of system you are using to grow your plants, and all those things. So we will have different things. We're dealing with a straightforward thing for you to understand. Granules are for the medium of the soil. The salts are for the leaves of the plant or the foliar fertilizers. Are you clear so far?
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful. So now that I have to add fertilizers to my plants, once you are using granules, so you add this to the roots of your plant, to the soil, right? What you can do simultaneously, and repeat, Simultaneously, you can add a salt fertilizer. So if you're using a granule fertilizer that starts the roots, it is advisable to use a foliar fertilizer. And I just use a nice little one. You all know what's called Miracle Grow?
Yeah.
Fertilizer? The formula for that is 15, 30, 15. I just use it as an example, right? 15, 30, 15. You notice what happens here, right? High, right? The phosphorus high. You get that? You're getting that?
Yeah.
Right. But look what happens now. This, when you add to your media, it takes 3 to 7 days for the plant to get access to that. It have to break down. Once you get water, it will have to dilute, it will break down, and then it will be absorbed by your plants and your plant. This is normally granule fertilizers take 3 to 7 days, depending on how often you irrigate and all those things, for your plant to get access to, right? Unlike this, the 15-30-50, which is a foliar fertilizer, once you apply it to the leaves of your plant, instantly your plant is going to get access to the phosphorus and these other nutrients. So you know what happens here now, right? That means that when I'm supplementing my plant in order for it to get, or I'm adding my fertilizer in order for it to get the phosphorus, while it is coming up here 3 to 7 days, here it is substituting, it is allowing the plant to get a little phosphorus at the time. So a plant, once you get the phosphorus, root development is beginning to take place fast. And of course, once you encourage your root growth, your plant is going to get access to this, it will absorb faster, and you're going to get more root development very, very, very fast. So that's a little technique that you learn. Once you're using a foliar as granule fertilizer, you should, of this nature of a starter, you should go with a foliar fertilizer in nature of a foliar fertilizer in nature with a starter type. You all understand that?
Yeah. Excuse me. One question.
No.
What's that?
I need to ask a question also.
Yeah, sure.
Now, all right. So we have 15, 30, 15, right? All right. So I know about the 15, 30, 15 in nutrients, right?
Right.
But you say the starter, right, which is 12, 24, 12, right?
Right.
Okay. So you cannot start with a 15, 30, 15 as you started with the 12, 24, 12.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can do it.
Once I'm using this at the same time. But this one is adding to the base of your plant, which is the roots. But this one is adding to the leaves of the plant, spraying on their plant.
Okay,
that's the difference.
okay.
Oh,
right?
okay, okay.
You're feeding the plants both ways.
Both ways, my dear. Exactly. So here's what you call deficiency. Deficiency meaning that the plant is going to lack in a particular nutrient. And this little method is going to prevent a deficiency of phosphorus. Ladies and gentlemen, may I ask you all a nice little question? Excuse me. Have you all ever seen anyone of you grow pak choy?
Yeah.
Right. Have you ever seen the pak choy come pink and nice? A pink, the stem to get pink. Yeah, a little pinkish. Eh?
Pinkish, yeah.
Yes.
All you notice that?
Yeah.
All you know what is that?
A deficiency?
Yes. It's a phosphorus deficiency, not the variety of the plant. It's a phosphorus deficiency. Once you see that bronzing, you call that bronzing. That's it. That's the term. Bronzing. When you see that bronzing taking place in your plant, and you notice that the green pak choy will be bigger, and the pink one will be shorter, right?
The shorter and stiffer.
And stumpy and thing, and the like Nina, my shorty, right?
Stiffer.
Right. Okay. So that is exactly what happens. Your plant will have deficiency, and that's a sign of phosphorus deficiency. So when you're adding this as you transplant 3 days after, and the same day you transplant, you can spray on this. Your plant will have no deficiency of phosphorus, because while this is coming up, this already getting the plant, while I'm giving the little developmental roots, you don't add this already 3 days, and the plant will start to get access to it again. So you have the phosphorus there. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the first 2 weeks of your plant life, it needs phosphorus. It needs phosphorus for root development. So you should not wait and later on and go and add that. I went to someone and they say, well, you know what I will do? I'll make the Blocon, I'll make the urea, I'll mix the 12-24-12. I'll hit it one shot. The plant will get everything one time. That is, you are changing the formula of the fertilizer. So your plant will just absorb what may need. But you have to specialize your nutrients. So again, I'm giving starter. So I go with the phosphorus. Once this is granules into the soil, I add this immediately. Same day I transplant, I can add this, you know. I can add it straight onto my plants and it's instantly. That's what I call stomata, present in the leaves. And that stomata opens and it penetrates and it is absorbed by the plant. Just so diseases enter into your plants. Or we spoke about moisture and all those things, right? So you know, when you talk about the spreader sticker, how does that thing and allow the penetration? So your stomata opens and it penetrates. This is why. So you do this, you do this. So let me go now with the grower, right? So you want the grower, okay? Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That
Beautiful. So we go now with grower. So we want our plant to grow. We are 20, 10, 10. Now I'm just using this numbers. What I want you to understand at the end of the session, I will show you what is happening. So 20, 10, 10. So I want now to grow my plants. So now I go and add a granule fertilizer, granule to the roots. You got that? Granule to the roots. What I'm going to do now? So when that period, now when I started fertilizing plants and spraying and things. So now it mix with a chemical cocktail. Now I add my foliar fertilizer. Once I start growing, I change my foliar now. My foliar into foliar into the arctic leaves. You understand that? Now, once this is going to the plant, this one instantly get onto the leaves of the plant, and you will have no deficiency of nitrogen there. So then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have my plant getting here via the roots, the granules, and then the foliar, I'm going to get the nitrogen via the leaves. Again, your plant will not show no deficiency of nitrogen or nitrogen. My plant is actually going to grow really, really wonderful and green and nice and so on.
Excuse sir.
Yes, sir.
Just want to ask one thing. I heard you mention it earlier.
Sure.
That is with regards to applying the fertilizer at the what you call the drip edge.
Right. I commented that just now.
Oh, okay.
I commented that. I run across that yet. I just want to understand the principle in this happening first. And then we'll talk about the method of application, right?
Before you move on, sir, question again.
Yeah.
So, all right, I just want to make sure I have it right. So,
sure, man, no problem.
The granule, right, is what you're doing for the soil.
Medium. That's right.
Medium, right.
Right.
And the foliar is where you're spraying on.
That's right.
All right, beautiful. And one more thing. I think I missed. I want to make sure I have it right. This system, starter, grower, finisher. I am applying this to all plants.
All my crops.
All crops. Flower.
Once I cultivated my crops, I will use this system of a starter, a grower, and a finisher. But I'll come to show you how to specialize it now. Don't worry, I am missing that.
Because no, what happened in my head, from what I've been, because I'm learning to learn. So what I've been told is like, you focus on, if you're doing, say pak choy, which is a leafy vegetables, you just focus on feeding the leaves.
Right.
But this system is feeding the whole plant.
The whole plant. You need to feed the whole plant. All right. And I'm saying this, right? I'm saying this. It's just that the different types of crops, one you'll take one type of crop will take a little less fertilizer than the other crop. For example, a tomato may take a little more fertilizer than a pak choy. A pak choy is a little softer plant and more sensitive and that and so on. And that's the difference, right? So we'll come to that when we think. But I want you to understand, once you transplant the plant, you must start with you have to go with a starter, you have to go with a grower, and then you have to go with a finisher. But you go say here now, you say, Mr. Bechu, but my lettuce do bear no fruits. Why I should put starter finisher in date? Any question about that?
Yep.
Right. So here was it. Let me ask you something. Before we move on from this one, let me ask you a question. Have you ever gone to the back? If you go to buy a pacture in the market, right? What pacture, what are the features, the characteristics would you look for in purchasing a good pacture?
Stem and leaf.
Eh?
Stem and leaf.
Right. Tell me what is stem and leaf. What are the stem and leaves?
I'm looking for a nice thick white stems mostly and nice green
leaves. Why would you look for that?
Because that's why consuming, that is the core of the product I'm consuming.
The product, right. So let me ask you something. So what excellent, that's a very good choice. You made a wonderful choice there. But let me ask you this question. When you purchase a pacture, have you ever seen a pacture with this stem that have a faint green in it?
Yeah.
Right. And when you put it in fridge, what has happened with it?
Turn.
Huh?
Turn.
It's melt.
Yeah, thank you, my lady. Thank you, my lady. You got to drink the pacture instead of eat it. Right? Quite true. That is exactly. Because the melt, you get damn puff. So you got to drink the pacture instead of eat it. And that's the whole thing. When you add in a finisher or a blow-on in your pacture, because 1 week grower, 3 days after starter, 1 week after you hit a grower, and 1 week after that you hit a finisher. This finisher is not to allow the plant to reproduce, More so is to give it a better shelf life. That is important. Which is, my boy said, is a pacture with a thick, white, nice stem. It's a pacture that is more rigid in terms of texture, but not in terms of quality, not in terms of the consumer. It is ideal to consume it, right? And it will have a nice crunchy taste and all those things. Because you have your pak choy or even your lettuce works with a nice stem and a nice thing. So even though you put it out in the market to sell, when you have excess heat, your pak choy will melt. Not melt, but also wilt. I apologize. It will wilt. It will show the weakness and the softness in the vegetable. But if you have you put the block on, your plant are going to get a better shelf life. Even if you rest in the refrigerator, it is going to last a longer period. That's the whole idea of using starter and finisher. And that's a lovely, lovely kitchen tip in your own garden. You're supposed to take that into consideration. Not because I've been taught in school, a leafy crop needs nitrogen, I should add nitrogen. Ladies and gentlemen, when you add too much of nitrogen in leafy crops, and maybe you have experienced who plant a few pak choy, you'll see if you add plenty of nitrogen, the base of the stem is begin to rot. It is begin to rot. And that way called soft rot or root rot. And the heavy nitrogen, excess nitrogen may contribute to that. Because ladies and gentlemen, when you're using too much of nitrogen fertilizers, and I'm saying nitrogen fertilizers, especially what you call urea, it changes the pH of your soil or your medium, and you should not use that. It changes the pH of your medium. You want your pH to be neutral. Once that is happening, right? And that's the thing, you have sunlight, air, water, a nourished soil, and of course the pH must be balanced, right? In order for your plant to survive really, really well. Because once your pH is good, your plant are going to absorb better nutrients and so on, right? So let me move away from too much of the pH. I want to go into this here for you to understand. When I'm using my starter fertilizer, right? My finisher fertilizer. Once I'm using a granule by the roots and the foliar, I will use this to the leaves. So I will use them like a little phosphogen, right? Or 7-11-27. All those are nice little foliar fertilizers with high potassium that tends to harden your plants and gives it a better shelf life. But not harden in the sense that it is going to get too hard for me to consume. It more so, I'm going to get a better shelf life. And I want a good, well-textured lettuce or a pak choy to put out there on the market. When somebody comes 11 o'clock during the day to buy pak choy from me, I'm just saying if I'm in the market, the pak choy must not be wilted and down, right? It must be turgid, really nice. And that's the thing. It is going to do what I call increase, or if it have less potassium and so on, it can decrease the turgidity of your plant. If it have nice potassium, it will increase the turgidity. That means it hold water content for a longer period, and it's been really nice. And you have a better shelf life, and you will have a better I call a showcase of vegetables for the consumers. And those are little garden tips that you have to understand. It goes back way, that nice little link, you know. So you have your starter, your grower, your finisher. You add that to your plants. And that makes it the cycle of your plant, make it the feeding program of your plant. If it's lettuce, leafy crops, 1, 2, 3 is good. But if you have like salacious crop, like tomatoes, sweet peppers, and all those things, you go 1, 2, 3, and 3, 4, 5, 6. Meaning that I'll be continue the finisher because I'm going to bear and all those things. Right? I'll give you all a nice one later on. When I don't talk about it, I'll give you all a nice one. Reminder and a rejuvenator. Right?
Question, please.
Huh?
I have 2 questions, please.
Sure, my dear.
The first one is with respect to the starter. If it is you are starting from seed and not transplanting, because I know you said add it when you transplant, but if you are starting from seed, do you wait until the seed is germinated before you add that starter, or can you?
I love that question. That's a really, really, really wonderful question. And again, all you're doing, listen to this, right? You see the same structure? I'm using the same structure, excepting I'm going to use only foliar fertilizers for my nurseries. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm saying, you know. The lady asked a wonderful question. If I'm using the same system, the same method in nursery production, yes, I'm going to use that in nursery production. Actually, when I was going to do nursery, I would have come to that miss. So, right, so I'm glad that you asked the question here right now. All you are doing, instead of using granule fertilizers, I'm using foliar fertilizers. So I will use like the 15-30-15 or the Powergizer. I will use a little 30-10-10, which is a Nutrex. And I will use another one, 7-11-27, which is another Nutrex product. Nutrex is not the 2020 alone. Eh? Nutrex is a brand name again, once more. I'm reminding you of that. Right? But that's a brand name. So what I'm saying now, you go to the nursery, 3 days after germination, or you could actually drench your medium with a little Powergizer. It's a nice fertilizer. It's an organic fertilizer. Liquid comes in liquid form. It's an extract from plants. There is a high phosphorus, 50-10. You can drench your soil. And ladies and gentlemen, you know you're getting Probix and sorry, a little starter now in it, right? You didn't hear the term starter. I thought, okay, a starter, but you didn't know what the starter means. So the starter means that there is a high phosphorus in it. Now you're getting Probix and little potting mix and so on with a little starter in it now. All because they want to make sure that in nursery, whatever nursery production, and that starter, you are allowing your nursery to get access to phosphorus, encourage root development. Then I will start to grow it. So 1 week after that, by nursery in 21 days time or 28 days time, ready for transplanting. So 7 days after that first application, I will add the grower, but foliar fertilizers. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying this now. Since we are nursery production with the same fertilizer, I want you to remember this. Any foliar fertilizer carries, normally just carry a direction and label maybe 1 to 2 teaspoons per gallon of water, right? And you are using it first time in your nursery, always drop, recommended, always drop your recommended amount by 50%. So if it says 1 to 2 teaspoons per gallon of water, you use the lower amount first, so use 1 teaspoon. And if you have to use the 1 teaspoon, again, I'm going to drop that now by 50%. So I'll use 2.5 ml to the gallon of water and feed my nursery. Once I'm seeing that happen, I don't remember nurseries are very sensitive, right? And if you water too much, there's a thing called pythium. We'll come to that later on. But I don't want you to go and blast your plant with, because I either say 1 to 2 teaspoons or 1 to 2 tablespoons. I use it too because it's too strong. It's better for the plant. It will give more. Always remember, always take precautionary measures once you are doing nursery production, right? So again, if you do nurseries, same thing applies. Starter, grower, finisher. But only thing, change, the difference is that I'm going to go only the foliar fertilizers to treat my nurseries. Does that answer your question, my lady?
Yes, it does. My other question was time frame. So like how you said for the starter, you could add that for seeds 3 days after germination or after transplanting. What is the time frame that you could put in for grow or finish out? Does it differ based on the crop?
Yes, yeah, based on the crop, totally based on the crops. And I was preaching that all the time, but maybe I didn't take it up at the moment, right? Remember, a lettuce might take, right, okay, so let me put this, try to understand, right? a lettuce is a 6 weeks crop. That is from nursery production. When you transplant it, it's 3 to 4 weeks you can harvest it, right? So then we use from transplanting. So that means every with a 7 days period, 7 days apart, you're supposed to add your fertilizers. So 3 days after transplanting, I'm supposed to use my starter. You know, so far? Then from that date, 7 days after, I use the grower. And from 7 days of that second application, I use the finisher. So that means 7 and 7, 14 and 3 is 17. You know, so far? In 17 days, I complete my fertilizing program. So that once I complete my fertilizing program, you realize now that, yeah, what? I have some days now for the plant to develop and ready for harvesting and all those things. So you see how it works out nice?
Understand. Thank you.
Right,
very
but
much.
now we have tomatoes. I can go and tell you 3 days and 3 days apart. So tomatoes now can go 3 days after transplanting, 3 to 7 days after transplanting. With 14 days from that application, I can add a grower, and 14 days from that application, I can add the finisher. Because you realize now, 14 and 14, 28 and 3, 31. 31 days, right? Mustafa?
Yeah.
So we're adding. So 31. Within a month time, that plant's supposed to show signs of reproducing, ready for flowering and so on. Right? So that means you realize what happens, you know. Your fertilizer application spaced out now because the plant life is a 3 months crop and not a 6 weeks crop.
Okay.
You see my point?
Yeah, understand.
Beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, and again, you as an individual, I'm just saying, we're doing grow box production. Grow box production will take this system really, really wonderful. Unlike soil cultivation, it is take a little different because sometimes your soil may have a little more nutrients and less nutrients, whatever the case may be. But I just saying, if you use manure to grow your plants and so on, you'll always have a supplement of nutrients and all those things. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember, I'm teaching you all this for grow box production. That means our medium is soilless culture. That means we are not adding any soil, no manure, right? We have organic material, but we do not have, we will have something that can just trace elements and maybe a slight trace of potassium, but nothing major to contribute to feed your plants. This is why it is recommended that you should use your fertilizers as you along, finisher, and of course your foliar and your granules to go with it. And that is going to give you wonderful, wonderful, wonderful results in your production. Right? If I go move on to anyone have any questions again? Yeah?
Nah.
Right, so we go there.
Sir,
very much.
Sir, good afternoon. You mentioned something about the tomato. The folly is the when you put the seedling and it germinates and it started to stretch out. That white sort of white stuff that on the stem, that is you call it a name earlier on.
The white.
It's on the stem when the seedlings push up. Like about a week later, it's get some F word is used.
Yeah, the foliage.
Yeah, but to use a word when you start to see that you're something about transplant and you need to put it. You went so fast and people started to ask. I just shocked, but I know what it is. I want to ask you.
The two little leaves that they be showing.
Right, when it leaves, yeah. When they go to the back and look at it now, it has some white thing on the stem.
Yeah.
Some white. I don't know if it's like roots or it's
right. Well, okay. So most like tomatoes, let's get what you call aerial roots. Aerial roots, right? Once they're growing, they get little roots and see little buds coming out, little root on top and so on. Right?
Yeah.
Right. And that's why you have to do a little molding to encourage the roots to get in contact with the medium and all those things, right? So you'll have absorption taking place faster and so on. Okay?
Yeah.
Right? But again, we just recapturing, right? So granules, just as if you're using this starter simultaneously, at the same time you can use the foliar. Same thing applies here. Grower, foliarly, grower. Finisher, granules in the roots, and of course, foliarly, you can add the foliar fertilizer onto the leaves. Okay? We get there so far?
Yes, sir.
Right. Right. So now, Now you understand fertilizers like that. What you have to take into consideration now, what method of fertilizing, what method of application of fertilizer I should use when I'm applying my fertilizers. Very, very important, right? Very important. So this is a nice thing. We have nitrogen, we have phosphorus, we have potassium. So this here now is the medium. Are you with me so far? That's the medium. That's the top. That's the top of your medium, or the top of the soil, or the top of the growing medium, right? But how fast does it travel? How deep does it travel? And that is how you have to take that into consideration. So we have now nitrogen. Nitrogen dilutes and goes down really, really fast into your medium. That means it's a fastest traveling fertilizer. Actually, there's a term called leaching, right? Leaching is when your nutrients are diluted and move away from the roots of the plant that the plant can't get access to it. Are you all with me so far? Repeat.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Repeat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the term leaching or leached, meaning that once you add, I'm using nitrogen. Nitrogen leaches very fast. That means that once it comes in contact with water, it dilutes fast. Once it dilutes, it travels very, very fast, and it passes the rooting system of the plant. So even though the plant will get access to it, it travels so fast that it goes into the medium so deep that the plant will not get access to it at the time that it needs it. Are you with me so far?
Yes, sir.
Good. So that is, you understand that now. So this travels very, very fast. Phosphorus remains on the top. You add phosphorus fertilizer, starter fertilizer, it remains on the top. You know so far?
Yes, sir.
Good. Potassium, tonight, it will reach in the middle. So fast, medium, and low. You know so far? Fast, medium, and low. That means this one will go down into the medium, right? But you think a while if it will go down, but the plant can get access to that all those things. This one does not go down too deep. It stays, or it locks in top of the soil, or in top of the medium, that it does not go down too deep into the medium. So that means, based on that, I understand how fertilizers travels and how fast it travels. I should use that as my guide to use the method of application to my medium. You know so far?
Yes, sir.
Good. Look what happens now, right? So if this is my plant, right? That's the root. Yeah. Are you all seeing that right?
Yes, sir.
Right, good. So I'm going to kill two birds with one stone now, right? So first, my boy asked me, I hear about the drip edge system. Right? This is the foliage of the plant. This is what I call the drip edge. Most of the time, right? My plants, once it throws the canopy is perpendicular to the rooting system. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Good. I'll understand that. Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Good.
Uh,
That means this rooting system will be here. If it's so big, this rooting system will be here soon. But at the root tips now, at the tip of the roots, have the what you call the root hairs. The root hairs, when you put a plant, you see fine little roots again on the tip of it, I mean? That way you call root hairs. That is the feeding point of the plant. Right, that's the feeding point of the plant. Right, that's the feeding point of the plant. And you want the plant now, the fertilizer should reach there in order for it to absorb. So what do I do now? Right? If I add a starter fertilizer, what we say happens with the fertilizer? What we say happens with the fertilizer starter with the phosphorus?
the roots.
Right, for the roots. What happens to the fertilizer?
It leaches.
No,
it stays to the top of the soil.
That's right. They're locked into the top of the soil. So that means once I'm using a starter fertilizer, I suppose to do this. Encourage my fertilizer to be the phosphorus to be down here. So that means I have to get it into the medium down here. So when the roots begin to grow, there, right?
So we can see so far down by the roots there.
You can't see down my roots.
No.
Oh, but I buried the plant already here. All right, come back here, right? Are you seeing that now? Up here, you get that?
Yeah.
Right. So this is the leaves, right? And this is the fruits. Right. This is the roots, right? I'm using the roots, right? Okay? Right. And this is the top of this soil. So once I add, this is what I call the drip edge. Okay? That means I want my plant to get the feeding point there. So when I have to add a starter fertilizer, my starter fertilizer should be, so if I'm doing this the planting, if this is the hole, right? I understand how it's drawing here, this is the hole, right? That means I suppose to add a little starter here, put a little medium on top of it, or on the side of it, or inject it on the side of it. And then I plant my plant.
Okay.
Right? When I plant my plant, it is going to get access to the phosphorus. Because you said the phosphorus locks there, it does not move too fast. You get what I'm saying? You all got what I'm saying?
No, I
yeah.
Somebody said no?
Yes, could you go over that?
All right, so let me go over. That means I have to inject my phosphorus or my starter fertilizer into the medium where the roots can get access to it. Not really fertilizer will get access to the roots. Because if I add it here, if the starter here, it will remain right here. It won't go down too deep. It might just go right here, so and until the roots there, down here. Right? So that means my plant will not get access to it. So I'm supposed to inject my starter fertilizer into the medium, lower where the roots can get access to it. Everybody understand that?
Yes, so that's why they transplanting.
I have a question, please.
Sure.
How much does the phosphorus affect the acidity or the pH of the soil?
No, it don't. But it do cause toxicity. If you add, especially when your plants are flowering and so on, you should not add too much of phosphorus. While your phosphorus needs what you call, it needs to synthesize the other nutrients, right? Or to bring down the other nutrients, phosphorus is needed. But if you add too much of it, it's called phosphorus toxin. It's called poisoning of the plant and it's a thing. So this is why if you watch I'll deal with that just now, that humidity fertilizer, you're going to understand the difference of it, right? But the phosphorus doesn't interfere with the pH, but also when it's bearing too, you cannot add too much of phosphorus fertilizer, it can cause poisoning the plant. But it needs phosphorus still, but it has small amount just for the plant to synthesize or break down the nutrients in order for it to absorb. All right? Answer your question?
Yes, it does. And I guess the follow-up question is it a good idea to add the starter to the medium when you're mixing the medium as opposed to afterwards?
All right. Excellent question, sir. When we do our practical next week, Saturday, sorry, and we're going to add the nutrients, I'll show you how we go about doing it, right? But ladies and gentlemen, let me just give that right? Listen to this, huh? If this is well, everybody seen this sugar?
Yes, sir.
Good. If I add fertilizer into this, right? So if I take, so I have a bag of the mixed medium, I take the glucon or the phosphorus and I throw it into it and I mix it up, right? It disperses, so it shares all over, right? You know so far? It's all over. But watch. If I take this now and I throw it into the grow box, and it's 8 inches, right? You heard me so far, sir? Look what happens now. But I transplant my seedling 2 inches deep, right? If I transplant my 2 inches deep, so if from here to here is 8 inches, and I only do 2 inches, how much balancing down here? 6 inches. That means I place 6 inches of nutrients there that is wasting. And does not, what happens? The plant does not get access at no time. Maybe we get a little time, we get some, but yet so if I'm saying my plant supposed to get 5 grams of phosphorus at the starting point or when it begins to start, and if I add this here, I'm just saying in a size square foot per se, that means if there's 2 inches only, my plant is not really getting 5 grams of the starter fertilizer. Get me so far? So the possibility exists that my plant may show deficiencies of phosphorus, right? And that means I'm adding fertilizers all the way here. And ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people is going to concept of adding that and the plant will get it all the time and so on. Always remember this. Once you add in your fertilizers, people mix the medium all over and thing, and here it's get green and nice. But I'll tell you all something. You have to take this into consideration, you know. If a plant has the characteristics or feature of growing 5 feet in height, you know, so far? 5 feet. But when I add my fertilizers and I see plant looking green and nice in my side, in my view, I'm seeing, hey, boy, the plant looking healthy and nice, you know. But you know, when you read the labels and it's supposed to grow 5 feet, but the plant only grow 3 feet, but looking green and nice. What that means? That means somewhere along the line that it did not get the correct nutrients. While the nitrogen may be high and had the plant looking green, doesn't mean that the other nutrients was specialized to feed the plant, that the plant get everything to reach 5 feet. It didn't reach 5 feet, it reached 3 feet, or 3.5, or even 4, but it did not reach 5 feet. And it said that if when you're doing a certain type of crops, and it tells you this plant has the ability to grow 5 feet in height and 3 feet in diameter and all those things, it will only happen, or it will only happen when you add fertilizers or you treat or you nourish your plant properly in order for that to happen. You might talk about the requirements of plant growth: air, sunlight, water, nutrients, and so on, and pH. Once you have that in correct proportion, then your plant are going to actually reach the height it's supposed to get, right? Then not forgetting your weather condition. Maybe your plant is, if the sun is too hot and not getting water enough, it will lack, it will remain short. You need to treat your plants. If you have sunlight, irrigate your plant. If you don't have nutrients, add your fertilizers. You need to do, and based on the time and state and stage of your plant, you're supposed to add your desired fertilizers then. If you know transplant, the starter. If you wanted to grow, the grower. When you wanted to reproduce, the finisher. And that is very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. Take that into consideration. I'm telling you all, this is how it works. Now, forget disease and you know, disease and will have a adverse effect on plant and all those things. But I'm saying once you plant get proper nutrients. All right, let me use a nice little example. How many of you all have little rubbish heap burning little stuff in the back of the house, or a little thing burning, or you cut down some little stuff, little trees and shrubs and you made a little heap and you burn it and you plant a plant right into it. You plant corn or peas in it, and the other plants on the side of it, you plant the same corn or peas, but it didn't grow like this, how that one grew. Have you all ever experienced that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of questions to be asked. Why? Because the ashes have to correct the pH of the soil. The ashes give potassium and nutrients for the soil. Then you have, once you have that happening, you have good aeration of the soil. So all that gives the plant proper and good condition in order for good growth to take place. That's why it will grow faster in that place than the other parts that wasn't burnt. You all understand what I'm saying? Right? So this is why you need to put. So, wonderful question. Should I mix it all over into my medium, or should I use a system? I'm going to be doing that Saturday. I'll do a demonstration how you go about doing that, and then you will understand clearly. Okay?
Yes,
You good there?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Most welcome. Okay, so now we have. So so you realize when you transplant the only thing, we put the phosphorus down here. They put the phosphorus down here, right? You know that the plant where the roots go get access to them. What do we want to do now after? We want to grow our plants, right? You get this so far?
Yes, sir.
Right. And what major nutrient do we add?
Nitrogen.
Beautiful. But we said nitrogen travels very fast and deep in the soil and away, right? So you realize now, since that happens, what we do? We just make a little hole here, add the nitrogen, that is the nitrogen, right? Add the nitrogen, the phosphorus, add the nitrogen, and you cover it. I hear what I said, right? You hear what I just said, right? You cover it, right? You got that?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yep.
Anybody know why we cover it?
To
Why do we
prevent
cover
it from leaking, from going fast into the soil.
I love your guess. I love your guess. I love your guess. Nice guess. Anybody else? Any other answer there?
Probably when you water.
Because
I think from sunlight.
because remember you had said that the nitrogen, once it comes into contact with the water, it will become diluted and run all the way down. So if we cover it, that would minimize the chances of much water diluting it too fast, causing it to dilute too fast.
Okay. I love your logic behind it. Okay. But very simple. Why do we cover it? The person said sunlight just now was close to that answer and was really, really wonderful with that. Once nitrogen, and you said once you water, it dilutes very fast. And once it comes, if you leave it open in the air, you'll see, but it forms a gas, it forms a nitrogen gas and goes up into the atmosphere. So if you leave it open that way, pure nitrogen. Have anyone know what is urea? Anybody know what is urea? Right. So if you leave a little bit of urea outside, what happens? If you leave it open on a table or something, what happens? Or unless you use table salt.
Like water.
Beautiful. Because air gets the water moves from a high concentration to a low concentration of salts or whatever, and it thinks the water, right? So you realize that they say the salt into water. But of course, if you leave it, it will dry up also, right? And that means it forms a gas and it gets into the atmosphere. So you form a nitrogen gas. And let me show you all something. If you fertilize with just pure ammonium or urea, right? Urea. What happens if you go in? You just fertilize and you go back a while after it. Actually, it smells like urine or ammonium. Just get that odor coming out. Have you all experienced that? No.
Never really smell.
Right. Okay. So you wouldn't think, right? But sorry. Yeah, so you have that way. It smell. Just get that odor. This kind of urine odor. It smells like ammonium, right? And if that's because it forms a gas and gets into the air. That's why when you cover it, it minimizes that loss into the atmosphere, right? And of course, once you add the water, it will help to dilute and it will begin to go down into it. And by that, you can get access to it. You see what happens? It is here. So when you go down, the roots will get access to it. Over here, it does not go down, so you have to put it here for the root to go to it. Over here, you have to put this here to get to the roots. And that's the principle of it, right? And you realize now, so if I have this one almost at the top, and I have this deep down, where you put the phosphorus now? The potassium. Question?
On the leaves?
On the leaves. In the middle.
We deal with the soil and add into the soil.
How we get it now?
We add into the soil. So I said, if we have nitrogen at the top of the medium, almost the top, and we have the phosphorus way down, where would you add it? Where would you place the placement of the fertilizer? Where would you place it?
In the
surface? From the middle?
The foot of the plant.
At the base?
In the middle, yeah. That's right. Who said the middle? Quite right. Congratulations. You got that really one. So you add the potassium here, right? So, or a little deeper as I say. Very simple. So you start out with down here, your grower will be almost in the top, and your finisher is going to be in the middle of the plant, in the medium. So that's why you have to, and this is why, ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand fertilizers. You know what you added. But remember, the lady who said the leaves, you was not wrong, because maybe you've missed the thing that we deal with granules. This is granules fertilizer we are dealing with here. The foliar fertilizer will be going actually straight into the leaves or the foliar of the plant, right? So remember that.
Okay.
Granules and the leaves is foliar. Get that, Sofa?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Now, as I tell you, I'm learning to learn, right?
Right.
So nitrogen, right? That I think I come in contact with already. Is the white one, right? It's
Right, the white one.
color.
So you have calcium
Right.
nitrate. You have calcium nitrate. That means it has calcium and nitrogen in it, right? And then it have what you call the ammonium, which is the urea.
All right.
And you have another one called sulfate of ammonia. It look like just like brown sugar.
All right. So in terms of, well, I've been told to dilute it in water and add it to the plant, right?
Right.
And if you're saying that it dilutes quickly, right? Why is that? Was that wrong, or this method that you're saying is the better method?
All right. Okay. So what I'm saying, remember when I said depends on the method of application that you are taking into consideration, right? That's a very, very important, right? So this here is what I call soil dressing. This method is soil dressing. That means I put it in the medium, so it is called soil dressing. That's a method of application. The one you spoke about is by mixing the water and I add it to the plants. It is called fertigation. Get that term correct, ladies and gentlemen? Fertigation, right? When I take the same fertilizer and put it in the medium with a solution, it's called fertigation. If I apply it onto the leaves, it's called foliar application. You understand that? Soil dressing.
Soil dressing.
Right? It's dressing, soil dressing. If I put it in the water and I dissolve it and make a solution, adding is called that fertigation. And if I add it to the leaves of the plant, I call that foliar application. So, like I'm saying, all depends conditions that you are growing your plant. It can in the dry season. That's why it's recommended. That's why I recommended. In the dry season, you should do more fertigation. Repeat. In the dry season, you should do more fertigation. That means I could, and all because, but in order to do fertigation, I have to irrigate first. And what's irrigation? What's irrigation?
To make sure it
application of water. That's right. So don't mix up irrigation with fertigation. Fertigation is a combination of fertilizer in solution to water or to allow the plant. We call that fertigation. Irrigation is the addition of water alone. You understand that? Are you all get that? The term?
Yes, sir.
So know the difference, you know? Know the difference. So this is why you should irrigate first. So if you dry season, you should irrigate first and then fertigate. Because you need moisture in order for that liquid fertilizer to act or to work. Because ladies and gentlemen, if I didn't fertilize, if I did not irrigate and I go and use the fertigation, once I begin to dry up, that will lose into the atmosphere. You lose your fertilizer into the atmosphere, right? So that's why I'm not saying 100% though, but you'll lose it into the air and whatever. And then of course, if it dry up, you're lock in the soil and it wouldn't work. In order for fertilizer to work, right? You need to have
it has to be moist.
Beautiful. Thank you, my lady. Excellent. Right? So I hope it answers your question there.
Yeah, because they really did tell me, the guy really did tell me to water the plants first and then add it.
Beautiful.
To me, setting it.
So I'm going to write. That means I'm going on the right track too, right?
Yeah. I believe you 100%.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The next thing is, so if you're doing like say greenhouse and that kind of system, you have to do fertigation. Or fertigation
right. So that comes while it's a form of fertigation, but you realize it's a hydroponics now. That means that the soil is just the plants survive only in the solution. It has a little green medium just for anchorage, but the solution really carries the nutrients in it. So that's why it's called hydroponics, which is a form of fertigation, quite correct, right? But more so, fertigation when you actually take equipment and you add the solution into the medium, right? So hydroponics thing, and they have your call it NFT system with the water cycles. This, when we talk about the grow box, is what we call drip to waste. We are adding this into the box. Once we put the water and so on, that will reach out and go. But your plant has access to nutrients, don't worry about that. You're providing conditions for that to happen. So don't worry about that, right? That's why it's called drip to waste. The water is going into the system and goes to waste. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Slightly different to the soil method.
Yeah. What's slightly different? You mean
the application of
Yeah, actually, it's the same method of using the soil. I'm saying, remember, we're creating a medium we created an artificial soil. Technically, we created an artificial soil, but we are creating what you call an ideal condition for your plants to grow. That's what we are doing, right? Good. So everybody understand this thing with understand this with foliar and granules and so on, right?
Yeah,
Everybody understand that so far?
It kind of goes over our head.
I had to go, all right, no problem. I know later on as you're going along, every time you do something, you'll get deeper and deeper into your head and it will stay, right? Okay.
I understand it a little bit, right? But what helps is if I could get to listen to it again.
Yes, true.
On the, I'd like to get the video clip to listen to it again.
If you can get what the video?
We requesting if we can get it to listen it in our private moments so you can consume it a bit intense.
Right, so Mr. Mudgal can answer that. The question asks, like the video we have here, if them could get enough some what MS something?
LMS site.
LMS, you could go to LMS.
LMS
So
site.
we have not been getting through for the first two classes. We
So
have been trying.
Saturday, I sit here for 2 hours and I couldn't get in. I wrote them a letter, email, and it still weren't working. So we like lost if we missed classes. So we don't know. And I'm sure a lot of people could probably testify to that.
I know. I'm not denying. I'm saying.
So when we get in late,
it's a lot of issue to get in.
If we get in late, at least we could go in our private moment.
Right, but you remember you have up to 24 hours to get access to it, right? It lasts for 24 hours.
You're not getting it.
48 hours.
You want to post it on your LMS site? Yeah, you will get it for 48 hours.
48 hours.
We need to get the address for the LMS site because we don't know where that is.
Last class wasn't posted. We didn't see that.
All right. So what is saying, sir?
I would have to inquire about that. Yeah.
All right. So okay. So the officer will look into it. Inquire and we'll get back to you on that, right?
Yeah.
If you can just tell us where the LMS is.
In managing the program.
Excuse me?
Mr. Mudlal, repeat.
Yeah, there are other technical people involved in managing the site and so on. So we will look out, ask some questions and see if I get back to you all by Saturday. So
thank you very much, sir.
Okay, have a nice day.
So let's see the disadvantage of virtual training, right?
I want to ask you a opportunity on this, but do you like this method?
Really?
We worked with you, Princess Tang, and I know you like your students.
I like it. I like doing face to face with my clients.
I told them that.
I love to do that.
Myself and Sabrina, we did it at Indian Walk. So you remember the soap?
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Baby.
Let me stop right there. Right. Well, you know what? You know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Right.
I like to come face-to-face interaction with someone, so I will see the expression. I can see who understand, who don't understand. That's my thing. I love that way. Right?
This is convenient to our home, but still it's
But of course,
ladies
ladies and gentlemen, right? We have to take into consideration what the situation now, and we have to work what has been given. So we have not a choice.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I'm trying my best to explain. This is why I wanted to get this to work with you all, because when talking, I know that thing. So with this, I sure I'll get a little more information with this.
And we can sit down.
Yeah, the use of the whiteboard was yes.
Was a plus.
That's greatly appreciated.
Right.
Greatly appreciated.
Right. Thank you all so much. Okay. So now we are going to fertilizers, and I want you to understand fertilizers now. So I brought up some fertilizers. So all you know this the popular block on, right?
Yep.
So all you know what the color this is, right?
Yes.
This is blue, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
So I still use that.
You still use that?
Yeah, and this one too. They put it in
Right.
the hole.
Parents, they call it.
Right. So you notice it has 3 different colors. It has a brown, a white, and a red, and a little cream color into it, and so on, right? Fertilizers.
So what's the
Do you
name
all
of
know?
that one?
Huh?
What's the name of that one?
That's a slow one.
Remember, it is 13, 12, 34. Well, it's speed. Right? You understand that?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Right, okay. But you all know what's the difference between what? Anybody? Tell me. Can you all answer? All right, so let me explain this. There's what you call simple fertilizers, And they're what you call complex fertilizers. And they're what you call straight fertilizers. What's the difference? Very, very simple. So we have NPK, right? So if you see something like this on the package, if you see a mark like this, 4800, right? What does it say? What is it telling you?
All it has nitrogen.
Huh?
Nitrogen. All it have nitrogen.
It only have nitrogen.
Yeah, 48% nitrogen, no phosphorus, no potassium, right? That's what it says. Once you see this happening, right? So you see this now.
This first start.
0, 48, 0. What that means?
Only have potassium.
Only phosphorus, right?
48% phosphorus.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Right. And if you see this now,
only potassium.
Only potassium. So, ladies and gentlemen, once you see this happening, that is referred to what you call a straight or simple fertilizer. You get me so far?
Yeah.
It's called a straight or simple fertilizer. That means it's only carry one nutrient and nothing else but that. All right? You get me so far?
Yeah.
Good.
God, it's so hot.
If you see this now, 12, 24, 12. Or you see 12, 12, 17. What that means? Huh? That means that's 12% that, 24% that, 12% that, right?
Yeah.
Same thing here, 12% nitrogen, 12% phosphorus, 17% potassium. Once you see the NPK present in it at the time, it is called a mix or a complete fertilizer. You get me so far?
All right.
It's called a mix or a complete fertilizer. Okay? So now you have to understand whether I want to use a straight fertilizer or a mix or a complete fertilizer. Now, this complete fertilizer is now broken down a little more. This one here. Oh, let me use this formula, right? That is what 13, 12, 34. Let me use that. That nice one. I don't have it in front of me here, right? 13, 12, 34. Right? The name of it is called speed. But this is a complete fertilizer, and this is a complete fertilizer, a mixed fertilizer. Well, what's the difference now? Is this? Let me use this here now, right? Are you raising here, right? Let's see at the top now. Okay. So we have this now. 12. 12, 13. 13. Yeah, sorry. 13, 12, 34.
34.
Right? You see this one now. Here. It's 12, 12, 17. Very, very simple. This one shows it have the nitrogen separate, it have the phosphorus separate, and have the potassium separate. So you see the little nitrogen, you see the white one, that is urea. You see the brown one, that is the phosphorus. You see the red one, that is potash. Because you've seen all three separate, but in one package, it is referred to as a mixed blend fertilizer. Mix. You understand that? Are you all getting that?
Yes.
Yes,
Beautiful. Yeah. 12, 12, 17. That means.
Sorry.
You see in the Blocon, all is blue? All are blue? All because every single grain or granule carries 12, 12, 17. This now, one is a mixed fertilizer, but it's called a complex fertilizer. It's called a complex fertilizer. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a mixed blend fertilizer here with all three separate nutrients into one package. You have here a complete or a complex fertilizer, which is a mixed fertilizer, complex. All nutrients are in one grain or granule of the fertilizers. So you're ending up now, because of this separate, but in one package. When I'm fertilizing this one, right, it releases nutrient faster than this one, because that means the once you have water there, the nitrogen they go start to dissolve very, very fast, right? And the nitrogen will leach out faster. You might have the phosphorus stay almost on the top, and the potassium go down the middle and so on. So this way called fast releasing fertilizer. This one here is a complex fertilizer, but it's called a slow releasing fertilizer. In order for this one to work, it needs to get moisture. It needs to get moisture. So, you know, that's why, you know, this stuff, that's why they recommend that you're supposed to irrigate first, then add your fertilizer. That's why when you put this into the soil, just so, I wasn't thinking, you'll see the blue gets darker. That means it's absorbing moisture. Good, Mr. Fa? And this one now is just released. So you have to take into consideration, ladies and gentlemen, which one do I use? Do I use complex fertilizer or do I use fast releasing fertilizer? All depends on the application, or no, sorry, the method of cultivation I'm using, whether it's soil or grow box, or I'm just using dry season or the wet season to fertilize. So this one is recommended in the formula because have this mixed fertilizer is carry starter, grower, and finisher too, right? And this one here too, complex fertilizer carry starter, grower, and finisher. So ladies and gentlemen, you realize that this is called a slow releasing. I'll try and use this more in the dry season, in the wet season, because I don't want it to lose too much of nutrients at the same time and lose it with the water and the rainfall and all those things. Unlike this one, right? I'll use this more in the dry season, which is mixed fertilizer, mixed blend fertilizer, where I will irrigate, fertilize, and it will release a little fast, but it will go down in the soil faster, that the plant will get access to it, right? Unlike if I add this in the dry season, you realize once sun begins to get hot and the grain dries up, the nutrients are locked into the drain. Have you ever come across something called Osmocote? Anybody? All right. So I know a little about ornamentals, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So when you buy ornamentals, right, and when you go this place,
La Vega.
Thank you, my brother. La Vega. You go to regular boy. Right? So La Vega, you go La Vega and you buy your little plants in pots and so on. And you realize when you go to transplant it, you see a little shell present in the Probex. You ever see that?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Beautiful. So that's a type of fertilizer called Osmocote. Right? Osmocote meaning it's a complex fertilizer just like Block-On, excepting that the difference is the shell. The shell, it works like this. It works like this. Once it gets water, right? Once it moisture thing, the shell forms a membrane. So it's come like the little snotty nose now. You know the mucus in the nose? Right, it's come like that. The mucus. It forms a mucus and it releases the nutrients easily. Soon as it dries up, it gets hard and dry and it gets like a little shell. And eventually, that's what we call a very slow releasing fertilizer. Ladies and gentlemen, when you want to that fertilizer lasts like depends on conditions, it lasts like 3 months in your medium and all those things, right? Unlike Block-On was irrigating regularly and so on, every 14 days you realize how to reapply and all those things. So the Osmocote only needs moisture in order for it to work. So to Block-On, it needs moisture in order for it to release the nutrients. And that is why you have to understand the mode of fertilizer, the mode of action of fertilizer that you are using. Fast releasing, or you're using a slow releasing, or you're using a very slow releasing fertilizer. You have to take into consideration. A lot of people want to use the slow releasing fertilizer, but you know, boy, I feel lazy to go and fertilize regularly, So I go use the slow one. That's my thing. I use slow one. But ladies and gentlemen, while your plant will be getting nutrients and so on, right? It's an all-purpose fertilizer. Once you see all three figures are equal, it is referred to as an all-purpose fertilizer. That means that you're just adding that for supplementing the plants. But really and truly, when to specialize your nutrients, you need your starter, your grower, and your finisher based on what, like I'm saying, all depends on the deficiency. And that's another good thing to understand too. In grow box production, I use straight fertilizers to help out with deficiency. So if I have the phosphorus deficiency, right, and acetyl bronzine, I should use what we call TSP or diammonium phosphate. Those are straight fertilizers to only correct the deficiency. I will not use a starter fertilizer again. I repeat, I'll use a straight fertilizer to correct the deficiency. And that is what the straight fertilizer is used for. Once we are doing the grow box production, we add the nutrients according to recommended amount and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying that, you know, once you add that, you will have your deficiency. But event, when you have heavy rainfall and you have leaching and all this taking place, right? You may have, depends, I'm saying on the crops, because sometimes you not get the fertilizer on time and your plant is bearing. For example, if it is bearing tomatoes, it will use up a lot of potassium at the moment, and I may not, weather condition, I didn't get it fertilized, or maybe I had to go out and I didn't get it fertilized on time. All those things can be barriers for me to fertilize on time. So you have to take into consideration, ladies and gentlemen, right? You may experience, depending on the stage of the plant, you may experience certain deficiencies and so on. In that sense, once you are using the correct deficiency in grow box production, you're supposed to use straight fertilizer, right? That's why I introduce you all to the straight fertilizer to better understand, right? And I have this here.
Can you just clarify what is the straight fertilizer?
The straight or the single fertilizer? The straight or the single fertilizer? The one with the 4800 and the 0480 and the 0048, those are referred to as straight fertilizer. I just write it up here so you can get an understanding again. Right? So 4800, no, this only has nitrogen and nothing else. It's 0480, this carry only phosphorus and nothing but that alone. This is 48, right? This carry only potassium and nothing again. This is referred to as straight fertilizer or simple fertilizer. You got that? Now, lady, who asked the question?
Yes, sir.
Right, answer that?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
You're most welcome, right? So just now also, I realize that this can help you for deficiencies in your box and so on, right? Ladies and gentlemen, from tomorrow, from Saturday, we have the material, so we'll be doing the demonstration on the construction of the box, mixing of the medium and construction of the box, right? So in the meantime, right, I'm taking another assignment. Right? Here's the formula for the box, right? The formula that we have to add into our grow box, 2 pounds. I just started this thing. You get the light deeper, you're working out fast. We got another marker. I'll try to get this thing together. 2 pounds. You all see that? The green? Are you all see the green?
No.
All right. I think what I'm right, right?
Yes, sir.
2 pounds of TSP. That means triple super phosphate, right? 2 pounds of blocker, the 12-17. Right? 12-17. 1 pound magnesium sulfate. Right? And 10 pounds of white lime. Okay? So that's the formula that we'll be adding into our grow box once we you all get anything here? Right. So this is the formula that we'll be using ladies and gentlemen, what I want you all to give me for next week, I want to know what is the function of this and this, this and this. Each one, I want you to guys give me the function of it in a grow box. This is called the pre-plant fertilizer. I repeat, it is called
Excuse, sir. Excuse, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse, is the
Yeah.
wildlife, how much pounds is that actually?
That's 10 pounds.
10. Okay, thank you.
Right? This is pre-plant. And then before I plant, I have to add this into my box. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to give me the function of each of this. So next week when we come to start our discussion and our practical, we're going to deal with that while we're doing it. Okay?
Can you repeat what you
Call it
said?
the pre-plant fertilizer.
That's right, pre-plant.
All right, thanks.
Please,
And what
before
the
we plant,
function
right?
of each one of them.
That's right, in the grow box.
All right.
I want to get the function of what it is for, you know. I want to know what the function of it when you apply it in the grow box. How it works in the grow box. That's what I want to know. Right?
Can you repeat TSP, please?
No problem.
Right, beautiful.
TSP is what, sir?
Triple super phosphate. Or you see the right 0.048 just now? That's TSP. Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Oh,
0.480.
Yeah. And I forget this one. Sorry,
Alright.
I know one more thing. 1 pound urea. And 1 pound of urea. So I'll understand what nitrogen for? Nitrogen, phosphorus, NPK, right? 1 pound of urea. All you understand what is the NPK for? Especially these three. I want to tell me that answer. If I have this, is no. If I don't have this, is okay. I want you to make sure these three things. What it is used for in the grow box. Right? And why it is called a pre-plant fertilizer. Okay?
I have a question.
Sure.
What volume of media does this go with? These measurements.
This is for standard. I will have given you all an example. But it's for standard size grow box, right? 5 by 30. That's the formula used for 5 by 30. Right? So we get it.
Okay, thanks.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this afternoon session was wonderful. I hope it was informative. And,
Yes, it was.
Right.
Sir,
And
the last question is, why is it called a 3-part fertilizer?
pre-plant. It's called a pre-plant fertilizer. It's a called a pre-plant fertilizer. This is called pre-plant fertilizer. What I want to know was the function of each one of these, especially these three. TSP, urea, and the glucon in the grow box. All understand what NPK stands for, all right? I will the function of it. So keep it all work easier now.
Okay.
Beautiful. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I want to say thank you all so much.
Yes, sir.
Right. I want you all be blessed. Have a lovely week here, and see you all next appointed time on Saturday evening at 4:30 p.m. Sure.
God willing.
Go have some fun.
Thank you.
You have a blessed evening.
Thank you for the
Thank you very
session.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go drink some water now.
Sorry? What's that?
Drink some water now.
Drink some water. Oh, yes. All I have a tasty girl.
Bye-bye.
All right, then, take care.
All right, thank you all very much and have a good evening. Please press
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Finish the program.
Good evening, everyone, and be safe.
Thanks.
Don't forget to click your complete on the class.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, sir.